So after 13 long-ass years, we finally get a sequel to James Cameron's 2009's Avatar, a film that I've been kind of anticipating ever since I reviewed that film last week. Was it worth the wait? What's up, everybody, and welcome to my review of Avatar: The Way of Water. So after settling down with his newfound family on the extrasolar planet Pandora, Jake is faced with a familiar foe who returns to finish what he started, forcing Jake to team up and build an army in order to save his family. This was something I was looking forward to ever since I started reviewing and watching the original Avatar last week. Keep in mind, if you've not seen that review, I go on length in saying how much I didn't really appreciate the original at first. I didn't appreciate how beautiful it looked and how much of a masterpiece it was and how good it was. I'm just somebody that never really warmed up to it until way later on, until just recently. I just never considered it in my ballpark originally. But that part of me is dead. He's gone. Mortos Dios. So of course the newly reincarnation me was looking forward to it. Was rolling in with huge expectations. But was it really worth the 13 long year wait? Was it worth all that time being in development hell? As always, let's start off with the positives for Avatar: The Way of Water. Once again, it's got to be said, I said this about the original, the look was fantastic. The way that whole world was perceived, and just the way the effects and everything in that whole entire world of Pandora hadn't lost its touch. Just like the original, it looked amazing. It was a beautiful film to look at. It still had that beautiful, wonderful, amazing look that the world embodied in that original film. Even more so because this one involves around underwater sequences. So a lot of this movie does take place underwater. And because of that, it even amplified it. Not that I'm degrading the original in any means. That's not what I'm doing. But I'm just saying it had more to look at in this because you dealt with so many creatures of the underwater realm of it all. And just the all-around atmosphere. It just looked so good. And it, like I said, it just has not lost its touch at all. What with the camera angle, especially in the underwater sequences. You know, James Cameron used these specialized cameras. I'm not going to name what they are. But he used these specialized cameras specifically for these scenes. And it really did pay off. I think it really did pay off. The camera work was great. The shots, the angles, the lighting, the textures, and just the all-out angles because of these specialized cameras that he used. It really did pay off in such a huge way. It looked very astonishing. The way Cameron shot these shots, he had it all mapped. You can tell he had it all mapped down to each shot to the second. I really had no issues in that area. Just like the original, this one was just as much as a professional looking movie as I could find, as I could see. The film triumphed, that's for sure, in that area. If you're looking for a movie with just a really terrific atmosphere to look at, then look no further than Avatar: The Way of Water. You get some well-paced action here. Like the first one, you get a bunch of explosions, you get a bunch of special effects that just is just really well paced, and it really does the movie favors. And it's just something that I expected rolling into this. It's the kind of well paced action I was expecting. Just like the original, it did not falter there. So there's no complaints here, that's for sure. It's just, if you're looking for all out action scenes in all the right places, then you've come to the right place. And there's some really deep emotional ties within the story that they tell like with the dialogue and how family is important and how there's nothing else important than that. How you need to protect your loved ones, and there's just a lot of deep family ties sprinkled within this movie. That it does kind of get heartwarming, especially between the characters of Jake Sully and his son. You know, things just happen that makes you really understand the characters' dynamic and their chemistry. It's just the length you go to protect what is yours and who you love, which is what I got from this. So there's a very emotional tie. It was very well done in that area. And you got characters of Sam Worthington, who returns as Jake, who was great, just like in the first one, who was great. And then you get the villain played by Stephen Lang, who returns in a reincarnation version, who, if you've seen the original, you'll know what I'm talking about. But you get him as a returning character, and he returns with vengeance, that's for sure. Like in the original, he does a really good job. He's just, again, he plays one of those villains that you just love to hate. And he does an all-out good acting performance. He did not disappoint there. Then you get the characters, I'm going to call them the Sea People, because they name a lot of names that's just hard to pronounce, especially the places that they go to on this Pandora Earth. So I'm just going to name them the Sea People, who Jake and his family teams up with and finds refuge. It's like this entirely different species separate from Jake and his family. So they try to seek refuge with them and try to learn their ways. And it really, when it gets to this portion of the film, it really does live up to the title, The Way of Water. You just get this whole other world that's kind of different from the original, but at the same time, it's, you know, you're in the same boat. So, but it is like kind of different because you go to this other part of Pandora, which you never saw before. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was pretty justifiable. The film was a blast. I definitely had a blast. I didn't expect anything less than what I had witnessed in the original. However, I still have my issues. There's still some things that happened in this that just kind of tugged at my shoulder a little bit, like you know, just get the off. But with that being said, before I get into that, let's move into the next. And keep in mind, my reasonings are probably, again, minimal. But hear me out. The story. It was a good story. It's not something that pissed me off. It's not something that made me go, what the hell? But it is something that I felt like I've seen before. It felt like kind of like what the original movie was saying, only in a kind of a different aspect. Like, you have this camera shot over here that's looking at the part of the story of the original, but then you have this other camera that's kind of shot at the same area, but it's a different angle. That's kind of what The Way of Water made me feel. It felt like it was the same, but at a different angle, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I mentioned at the beginning of this review if it was really worth the 13-year wait and development hell, which I know that happens all the time. I mean, look at Cameron's first two Terminators. Though not as far apart as the Avatars, those took like 7 years apart. Both are directed by Cameron. So there's kind of a pattern here, which goes to show you he's kind of a perfectionist, which I respect. I really do respect that in a filmmaker. It goes to show you that you give a shit. But was it really worth the 13 years wait? Because I heard, now don't quote me on this, don't hold me on this, but I heard that he actually started working on the script of The Way of Water like, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago, give or take. Again, don't hold me down to that. But he's just one of those that really wanted to get, like, whenever he makes a movie, he wants it right. He wants it done perfect in his own way, in his own vision. And that's like one of the main reasons why it took so long. But from the story's perspective, if this movie, I think, yeah, this is just my opinion, but I think that if this had come out when it was originally announced, it was supposed to come out in 2017, but then, again, Cameron or so many other things probably could have happened, but it was mostly because of that, because he's such a perfectionist. If it had came out into the 2017, then I think it probably would have I don't know. Because if you look at when the original came out in 2009, the MCU hasn't really started until 2012. Now you have this whole world-building universe in those movies, which is why I think at the time of the original Avatars, why that one did so well. Now, but again, it's subjective. So, and I know I keep on saying that, and I apologize, but point being, if it had came out 2017 and its original date that they say that they was wanting to release it, I think The Way of Water probably would have fared a little better to me. Now, you guys might be different. Everybody's different. You might not have felt like this if you've watched it yet, but that's just me. Again, good story. Didn't piss me off. I just felt like I've seen it before. Just felt like it was a retrend of the original, only from a different angle. And the only negative I have is, and I need to keep this short because it will be a spoiler if I tell you exactly what happened, but something happens in the climax that really tugged on my arm, like somebody just doing like this, just like, get off! What happened in the climax, and again, I'm going to try to keep this as minimal as I can, spoiler-free, but what happened involved the villain and one of the other characters that it just kind of ticked me off. Now, I understand the sentimental value behind why it happened, but at the same time, I was like, dude, why? Just why? Again, I'm not saying anymore. Just go watch the movie and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But that's just my own little pet peeve. Again, I perceive movies differently than anybody else, as I'm sure all of y'all do as well. Just felt like a little bit of a tug. Just didn't want to let go. But then in the end, guys, despite my issues with the film, I still had a blast. It was still a great experience, especially a great theatrical theater experience. And no, I did not go see it in 3D. I gave up on 3D years ago. But I'm sure it would have been awesome and just as visually mesmerizing as ever. But yeah, get the point. But truthfully, I prefer the first one. I'm just being honest. I prefer the first one. It's not that The Way of Water pissed me off or anything. It's just from a, I don't know, originality perspective, I guess you could say. I felt like the first one was just a tad bit better, just a tad bit. The Way of Water was a fun ride nonetheless. It was a happy accident. So Avatar, The Way of Water, what did you think of it? Have you seen it yet? Are you a fan? Did you find this one more enduring? Are you somebody that was roped in by this? Or are you somebody that didn't quite care for this one? Are you somebody that liked the original more than The Way of Water? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, once again for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. And make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing, so I can be all up in your face. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.